There's a team playing in the top flight of French football called Reims. The team is unbeaten since September, and this past weekend they held the reigning champions and current leaders Paris Saint-Germain to a draw at PSG's home stadium in Paris. So, unbeaten in 12 games, taking a point off a team that includes Lionel Messi, Neymar, and Kylian Mbappe. Pretty good, right? Well, sort of. Because every time that Reims play, they are fined £22,000 because their 30-year-old English manager has not been granted a mandatory UEFA Pro licence that he needs to manage a team in the French League. So they're unbeaten in 12 games, but he doesn't have a piece of paper to prove that he can do the very thing that he is already doing so brilliantly. Does that sound familiar to anyone? All of which reminded me of something else football related. When Wayne Rooney was first picked to play for England, there were suggestions in the media that he was too young. The England manager met that criticism by saying, if he's good enough, he's old enough. Now, I've subsequently heard that same phrase trotted out to explain first Theo Walcott and more recently Jude Bellingham's selection to represent his country. So going back to the CSCS Grandfather Rights discussion, it's not a matter of if you're good enough, you're old enough. It's surely a case of if you're good enough and you've been good enough for the past 20 or 30 years, then surely you're good enough. And just one final point, at least for now, those men and women that are going to have to prove themselves and get themselves an MVQ over the loss of grandfather rights, they're currently working, I would presume. They might be employed, they might be self-employed, but an individual or a company with genuine knowledge of the construction industry has checked their CV, checked their aptitude and checked their skills and found them to be worthy of employment and a weekly or a monthly wage packet. Now, not only are the skills of the worker being called into question, but the judgment of their employer is under scrutiny too. Apparently, running a business for years or even decades and employing dozens or even hundreds of people doesn't make you fit to judge the skills of a person in your employment. But a bit of plastic does.